At the end of the day, when we don't have everything accomplished that we wanted to accomplish, we feel rushed, we're out of time, we get frustrated. At the start of the day, we feel overwhelmed trying to remember all the stuff that we didn't get done yesterday that needs to be done today, all the new task assignments, the carryover tasks from yesterday. It's overwhelming sometimes. I think we've all felt that way before. In this short gravity learning workshop, we're going to examine these challenges, of course, and give you research-based, real life, real proven help to get you through your days, to make you feel more confident that you're not forgetting things, that things aren't slipping through the cracks and things are getting done. We're going to help you be the time management expert you've always wanted to be. Hi, I'm Tom Vorvis, founder of Gravity Learning with I don't even like to say it, but 35 years of learning and development experience for organizations just like you and in front of groups just like you for well over 35 years now. I said it twice. I'm a lifetime learner, and I'm confident that I know how you learn, understand your learning needs, at least to some degree. And I make it my goal to make this learning experience effective and enjoyable for you, where you feel like you've left with something that you can actually use. Gravity Learning is a professional skills organization that focuses on your development. We're research-based, we're science-based. We don't rely on fads and trends, but instead we rely on jury-journaled, research-based information, published in reputable publications, and have always real-world application. We're not interested so much in learning, even though we are called Gravity Learning. We're interested more in whether you use what you came here to learn. So this is a workshop. It's not simply a webinar or a non-interactive, lecture. It's a workshop, and we're going to expect you to work a little bit. I'm going to be working, you're going to be working, and we're going to work together to develop a real life set of skills when we leave this workshop. We're going to rehearse our skills, and it's going to be great. I'm glad you're here. So everybody, I'd like you to take the chat. Let me go ahead and light it up for you. Here's the chat. In the chat, would you all please give me a yes? There's Kathy. We all get it. Good. Nice practice. Yes. All right. So now you've got your practice. You've rehearsed typing in yes. Now, let me know if you can relate to these things with a yes or a no, or sometimes. Never enough time. What do you think? Okay, another one. Priorities get muddled. Sidetracks are normal. Here's a good one. Do you relate to this? Real focus time is rare. 1000%. Oh my gosh. There you go. And here's another one. I'm curious. This is a bit more specific. Email and Teams are constantly nagging at you. Ding, 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 ding. Well, as humans, thank you all for that. Thank you for switch the sound off. There you go, Eliza. Great idea. And we've got some great tips for you along those very lines. So we as humans, we're basically just bad at time management. It's not in our nature to be good at time management. So I'd like to ask you a question. What do you find challenging about time management? What do you find challenging about time management? I think this is going to be a great opportunity for you to have a discussion with each other. I see there's quite a few people here. We've got 33 people here today. It's great. And there's 35 on the list, but 2 of us don't count. That's myself and David. But we have 33 of you to have a brief. Oh, okay. Thanks, David. You do matter. It's interesting to note, friends, that when we discuss things with each other, when we have conversations, about what we're learning, we are far more likely to not only remember what we learned, but to use it. That brief conversation is amazing. So look at each other, everybody. You're all here. We're going to spend just a moment in a breakout room together. And I'd like you to discuss with each other, what do you find challenging about your time management? What do you find challenging about time management in general? Let me get my rooms ready. Let's see, we've got 33 people, so that means we need 9 rooms. I'd like you all to spend about 4 minutes together discussing what do you find challenging about time management. And typically when we get into breakout rooms, people are like, well, what are we here for again? I can't remember. So write it down if you'd like, so that you can remember and get right to it. I'd like to have everybody have a chance to talk. So there's going to be 3 or 4 people per room. So maybe about 30 seconds, 45 seconds each will be fine. And when you get back, we'll have a brief discussion. I'll call on a couple of you just to see what you noticed. We'll have you give a 20, 30-second recap of what you noticed in the breakout room, what you heard. And I bet we're going to see some correlation about all these conversations. So after about 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes, you're going to get a message saying, hey, room's about to close. So wrap it up and we'll see you back here. So everybody, what do you find challenging about time management? See you in a few minutes. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Look at the smiling faces. Those discussions are always fun in the breakout rooms, aren't they? And I really, really glad that you all came back. I'd like to reach out just a couple of you and see what you thought about your discussion. What did you notice? What items might be of interest to the rest of us? And I'll reach out to a couple of you and then get your feedback. And maybe 30 seconds, maybe even 20 seconds is fine. It doesn't have to be a blow by blow, just something real quick. I thought I'd reach out first of all to Chrissy and then to Becky and see what you think about what you heard, what you noticed in your breakout room. Chrissy.
I think all 3 of us agreed that we just have too many tasks competing for our attention between emails, meetings, and our actual job responsibilities, and being pulled in different directions and then having to take the time to come back and refocus on what you were doing before. So we kind of all agreed that that's a challenge.
Thank you, Chrissy. I got a little anxious just listening to you. All those things that need to be done. It's like, oh man, it sounds a lot like me. Thank you for that, Chrissy.
Yep.
Becky.
Very similar to what Chrissy said, is competing priorities and managing different teams and different areas and being in meetings all day, but also still needing to respond to emails and just trying to figure out a balance between work and family. And do we hop on early to answer those emails, or do we, what's our priority here? So.
Great. And thank you for your feedback, the 2 of you. We appreciate it very much. Most of us struggle to manage our time, at least struggle to manage it well. And as humans, it's not our nature to be good at time management, but you'll be pleased to know that time management is more of a habit than a skill. And why is that pleasing? Because we all know habits can be formed just by doing them over and over again. The human dilemma is, everybody, the human dilemma is trying to remember to get things done, especially those important things. So how do we make it a habit? What kind of habit can we form to help us remember to get things done, especially when things are coming at us from all these different directions? Well, a study. Just noticed that we were muted. Hold on. Can you all hear me? Mine just popped up and said you were muted. Okay, we're good. A study was published in the Journal of Mathematical Psychology. It sounds interesting, doesn't it? It showcased the studies of a psychiatrist who was interested in how memory works. And what the study found is very interesting and fascinating, but not at all surprising. It's no surprise that they learned that memory weakens over time. If we learn something new, but then make no attempt to retain what we've learned or to relearn what we learned or to use what we learned, we remember less and less and less as the hours, days, and weeks go by. We all know that. Great study, right? But what's important to us, though, what this means for us is that if we rely on our memory to get stuff done, if we have a human brain, we're more likely to forget it, or at least most of it. So where are we going with this, friends? Instead of saying, don't worry, I remember, what can we do instead? This research found that after 1 hour, 50% of our ideas, 50% of what we wanted to remember has left the building. After just 1 day, 70% of what we wanted to learn is poof, gone. And then after 1 week, if we don't make an effort to apply what we've learned and to remember it, well, it's going to be gone. And we're going to be left with just a vague, I think I remember talking about that, or I have a recollection of what you're saying, but can you remind me? And that's how it goes down. So since we can't rely on our memories, we employ all kinds of great tools, and one of which is Microsoft Outlook. It's by far the most widely used time management tool in business today. And you might be thinking, I have Microsoft Outlook. I use my calendar. I use my task list. Tom, I hope you can tell me how to better use these tools to manage my time. I'm using it already. I'm using all these tools. Why am I still bad at managing my time? Well, here it is. Tough luck. You're human. And that's the way it is. Humans, for the most part, are just bad at time management, but you'll be glad to know that there's hope for all of us, even us that are not that great at time management. So in the Bulletin of Psychonomic Society, there was a published study, excuse me. I really love the name of this study, Everyday Planning, an Analysis of Daily Time Management. And what they were looking for was what tools are best to help us humans be better at time management. What tools are out there for better time management tasks or habits? What they found was that time management is indeed calendar management. What they went on to report is that the number one most highly correlated variable to getting stuff done on time was by far, it wasn't just a little bit, but by far, the study showed that scheduling stuff in your calendar at a specific time is going to be more likely to get done. So it's this simple, friends. It's this simple. Here's the math. And why don't you go to your chat? I want to hear from you. If it's going to get done, if it needs to happen on time, if people are depending on you to get something done, what did this study help us appreciate? What do we want to do? Take it to the chat. We just mentioned it and it's on. Boom, there it is. Block some time for it. Put in your calendar. Oh, I like that. Putting a task in a calendar at a specific time makes it 90%, 97% more likely to happen. I wonder where that little tidbit came from. Oh, Mr. David Lieberman. I'm not surprised. So the number one, everybody's going to take something away from this workshop. One correlated tool to help things get done on time is scheduling things at a specific time. It's different from just putting things into a task list, isn't it? But things happen, friends. We put things in the calendar, and it's not always as simple as just plopping it in the calendar because life happens. For instance, we might be working with people in multiple time zones, and here you are, friends, here for an Outlook, time management with Outlook. And up to this point, you're like, Tom, where's the Outlook? Well, I'm going to slide Outlook over onto the screen right now, and we're going to show you a really cool tip for those of you who have to schedule activities across multiple time zones. Do any of you have that situation? I do. I've been working on East Coast time and Gravity Learning. Often our clients work on West Coast time. We have people in the middle on Central time. We have people all over the world. Take a look at my screen. Are any of you jealous about what you see right here? What do you see? Yes, Tom has multiple time zones listed. Would any of you like to have multiple time zones listed? I have mine. Pacific time, Eastern time, and Paris time. Isn't that cool? So if you take your, just take a moment, let's go ahead and rehearse this together. If you have Outlook up and running, go to Outlook, switch to your calendar. And by the way, if you want to switch to your calendar quickly, while you have Outlook open, you can hold down the Control key and hit a 2. Control 2 will take you to your calendar. Control 1, by the way, takes you to your email. What? Yeah, Control 1 takes you to your email. Control 2 takes you to your calendar. Obviously, Control 3 takes you to contacts, and Control 4 takes you to your tasks. But while we're here, let's take a look at the time scale. Take your mouse over to your time scale and just hit your right mouse button. By tapping the right mouse button, a menu will show up and you'll see there's a choice called Change Time Zone. Click on Change Time Zone, and then from there, you'll be taken to your time zones area, which is on the calendar section of your options. And notice I have my first label, Eastern time, and I've selected the time zone for Eastern. I've got my second for Paris, and I've got my third for Pacific time. And yes, you can label these any way you want. This could be your East Coast office. This could be your Europe office, and this could be your, Chicago office, whatever you like. And you can set your time zone. And once you're done, hit the OK, and your 3 time zones or 2 time zones or 1 will show up. And no, there's no more than 3. The maximum is 3. What do you think, friends? Let's take the chat and let me know if that was a useful tip for you, if you think you'll actually use it. I'd also like to hear from you, those of you who use it all the time. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Very powerful tool. Use it daily. Thank you, Kathy. I've given you all a lot to think about. Is there anything on your mind? Any thoughts or questions you'd like to express now before we move into the next section? Nice. Thank you all. You see it coming in handy in the future. Great. Yeah, so when you move to Aruba and you work remotely, it's going to be very, very helpful for you. Let's boil this down to a simple formula, friends. Time management is a habit more than a skill. So the best question is then to ask ourselves at this point, how are habits formed? Well, habits are formed by repetition. If you didn't have this skill already, you just went in there and practiced on your Outlook and you rehearsed it once. You're less likely to forget this now because you've actually practiced it. Putting things in your calendar is a habit. Definitely a habit. It's not something that just happens automatically. And it's so important for us to develop this habit. At Gravity Learning, we have meetings all the time. And it's become second nature for us to say, let's put that in our calendar. Let's schedule some time for that right now. It feels a little unnatural at times, but the benefits outweigh the temporary uncomfortable feeling of saying, hey, let's put that in our calendar right now. But it is by far the best thing you can do for yourself. So let's do a little rehearsal together. I'm going to say something that needs to be done. And then I'm going to ask one of you to volunteer to say, when are we going to get that done? And what time are we going to get that done? So I have this great idea in our meeting, David. I have this great idea that we should interview 2 SMEs to further our knowledge of what we're trying to accomplish with this project. What do you think of that idea, David? Is that something we should do?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Tom. When can we do that? Can we get it in our calendar?
I'd like to do it next week.
Okay, so when next week?
Wednesday, I think. Wednesday's good.
That sounds good. When on Wednesday? When works for you?
Oh, I should go look at my calendar right now and let you know. How about 2 o'clock on Wednesday?
That is perfect for me.
Great. I'll put it in my calendar right now and invite you to the meeting.
I feel so accomplished.
Yeah, isn't that great? So now we have this commitment that something's going to happen as it should. How does that feel, everybody? Is that something that you feel you could use? That type of habit of getting things in the calendar straight away. Let's go to the chat and let me know what you all think of that little exercise. Great. My screen just froze up. Hold on a second. Literally froze up.
We're seeing you fine.
Yeah, my whole screen just froze up. So let's see if I can get out of here. Okay. Odd, but there you go. 1 second, everybody. Thank you. So if it's going to get if it's going to be going to happen, get it into your calendar. And if it's in your calendar, it's more likely to happen. And to get into your calendar, it does require us to form the habit of getting it into our calendar. Habits do feel unnatural at first, but as we go, that natural habit comes out. And as I mentioned, when we make it a habit, it becomes more natural. And in gravity learning, it is definitely a habit of ours to make that happen. In fact, it feels a little unnatural now if we leave a meeting without actual things scheduled in the calendar. It's really great, and you're going to love it. So make it a habit, and it's going to really play out well for you. But, you know, life happens. When life happens, like things need to be changed. Schedules get moved around. People need us to reschedule appointments. Rescheduling appointments is really easy in Outlook. And I'd like to share with you a really, really easy way to reschedule an appointment in Outlook. You notice my calendar here is a lovely calendar, and I'd like to reschedule this appointment right here. Again, my lovely computer's freezing up. I'd like to reschedule this appointment right here to another day. Notice what happens when I drag that appointment over and drop it on the 16th. That appointment gets moved, lickety split, to the 16th. But notice where it dropped that appointment on the 16th. I didn't have much control over that. Now, if I'm rescheduling an appointment on my screen like so, that's really straightforward. But when I drag an appointment to another day, it's not going to drop it where I want it. It's going to be a little bit more random. Well, actually, it drops it at the exact same time it was on this day. I want more control. Notice my week is scheduled, or week is selected here, and I'd like to select more than just this week. So let's go up to the top of the screen and we'll click on work week. And I'm thinking about rescheduling this appointment on either the 21st, the 24th, or the 30th. I'm not quite sure which. So I'm going to hold down my control key. When I hold down the control key, I can select what is called a non-contiguous selection, and observe what we got on this non-contiguous selection. I've got this week, and then I've also got the 21st, the 24th, and the 30th. I can plainly see that the 24th is the day I'd like to move that to, and that's the time I'd like to move it to. But wait, there's more. If other people involved, double click on the appointment and then select the amazing, always useful scheduling assistant. And the scheduling assistant is going to allow you to enter people's names, find a nice time frame for this appointment. Aha, there's a better time for this meeting right there. Because you can see that we're both clear at that point. We go back to the meeting, finish filling it out, and send the invitation. Let's recap. Number one, when you're scheduling appointments, dragging and dropping is lovely and easy. Number two, if you can't see the destination to drag and drop it, you can allow yourself to see that destination by simply holding down the control key and selecting whichever non-contiguous days you'd like. And now we have the ability to schedule that appointment across multiple days in a much more informed way. Let's go to the chat and let me know what you think about that tip, that trick of selecting more than one date that's non-contiguous. Again, by holding down the control key, non-adjacent. I love it, super helpful, very good. It's an awesome little tool. It's such a simple little tool. I remember showing this to a few people and they're just like, how come I didn't know this years ago? How much easier things are now. So what I've done in the past is I've double clicked on it before I learned this tip and then used the scheduling assistant to find the spot. So much easier just to hold down the control key and select the appropriate date. Very cool. But friends, let's all remember that we're not in this alone. When we're scheduling or rescheduling appointments and meetings, others might need to know about this. It's nice that when we work in a team, that we reschedule an appointment, reschedule a meeting, reschedule a deliverable, as easy as we just did. But there's another something we should do to ensure that our team is running like a well-oiled machine. When a task can't be done at a specific time, it needs to be rescheduled. We pick our new date, and then we want to communicate. This communication could be either in the form of an email or a meeting. And if people are not part of the meeting, but a deliverable is coming out of it, people are dependent on that deliverable, that to-do, that task. We want to communicate that things have changed, schedule has changed, and we want to pick a new date and then communicate. Be sure that all that are involved know about the rescheduling of this deliverable. What happens though? What bad things happen when we don't communicate a schedule change? Let's go to the chat and see if we can brainstorm this together quickly. What bad things happen if we change a schedule, but we don't communicate that to others? What could go wrong? You lose respect. Thank you for that. You know, deadlines aren't met. Good. Yeah, good. Conflicting schedules. These are all great. They're all spot on, friends. General confusion. Exactly. So, friends, when we have a meeting, it's filled with people attending this meeting, and that meeting needs to be either rescheduled. We can simply click and drag it, and of course, everybody is going to be informed that that meeting's been changed. But also, friends, sometimes we just want to change a meeting or change the content of a meeting. Maybe communicate something to the people that are on that meeting. Well, one of the really cool things I found that I've just discovered recently about Outlook, like I said, I'm a lifetime learner. I just love this feature. When you double click on a meeting, get to my meeting that I want to double click on. Apologize for my screen is still frozen on, so I'm dealing with a frozen screen right over the top of one of my other screens. So I'm actually amazing myself right now, but it's maybe a little annoying on your end. I get that. So notice on this calendar event over here on, let's see, here we go, on Friday, on Thursday, you'll notice when I open up this meeting, at the top of the screen, there's a button labeled Contact Attendees. When I go to Contact Attendees, you'll see that there's a choice called Reply to All with Email. So I don't have to go looking and see who's on this meeting. All I need to do is choose Reply to All with Email. When I do, you'll notice very nicely, everybody who's in that meeting is now going to be in the To field of this new email, where I'm going to be communicating a little bit of change to our team, to that appointment. As you can see, friends, when you open up an appointment or a meeting, there's a button at the top on the meeting tab called Contact Attendees. From there, you can choose to contact attendees with a new email, reply to this meeting appointment with this content in a new email, or reply to all with an instant message, depending on which instant message tool you have turned on. Isn't that slick? Friends, why don't you take a moment and go to the chat and let me know if this is something that you've used in the past, or if this is something that you find to be new. The ability to just go up and choose reply to all attendees. Let me know in the chat, curious. Never noticed that button. You used it already, Eliza, good. Good to know, new. Used it's great. Use already. Oh, we got more people using it than not using it. Nice. Oh, you use it to send slides. Sweet. Time management is indeed a habit more than a skill, but there are skills involved. There are skills involved, and those skills, like what we just showed you, are really helpful. And there's so many more Outlook skills I'd like to share with you. And since we have just a few more minutes on the Outlook calendar, I'd like to share with you two really cool skills that I find to be extremely helpful. And one of them is navigating quickly in your calendar. Now, we find ourselves navigating our calendar by using these buttons here. Next month, previous month. But there's two little tricks I'd like to share with you for navigating your calendar. This does not appear to be a button, but it is a button. It's an interesting button. When you hold your mouse button down on this month name, you're able to jump ahead 3 months, jump back 3 months. Or if you hold the mouse button down and drag, it'll then start scrolling for you, and you can jump ahead 6, 8, 12, 10 months, whatever you like. That's one really cool way to navigate. I find it to be super helpful, but my favorite way to navigate the calendar is with Control G. Now, Control G brings up a dialog box called the Go To dialog box, Go To Date dialog box. And as soon as you do your Control G, the date is already highlighted. And all you have to do is type in a date such as 7/6/2023 and hit the enter key, and boom, I am on that date, lickety split. So two techniques for navigating that you might not have been aware of. Hold down the mouse button on the date, month, or do a Control G, which stands for Go To. Give it a try, everybody. I've given you a few keystrokes to think about today. Control G just now, and then also Control 1, Control 2, Control 3, Control 4. Pretty cool, huh? Now, not everybody's good at remembering keyboard shortcuts, that's for sure. But if you are a keyboard shortcut lover, there's a lot more where those came from. Scheduling time on our calendar for important activities can come to us from an email. Now, I receive an email from David, or I receive an email from a client, and it has a to-do in it. It has, you've got to get this done, Tom. Oh, I got to get that done. So what can I do to get it done quickly? Well, there's a really slick feature in Outlook that makes things so easy. When I receive an email that has a to-do in it, I can take that email with that to do, grab that email, whichever one it is, doesn't matter. Grab that email and drag it. And I'm just trying to find what's a to-do in it. There we go. Beautiful. I'm going to grab that email. This graphic needs to go into one of our slide decks. So I'm going to grab this email here and I'm going to drag it to the calendar. What? Yes. If you drag an email to a calendar, it automatically pops up for you an appointment with the email content in it, as well as a pre-described title. And now all I need to do is pick the date and time that I want to perform that task that email was indicating that I should do. Again, friends, that was pretty slick, yes? One of your favorite Outlook tricks, saves a ton of time. Thank you for sharing that with us. Just grab it and drag it over and drop it on the calendar. But wait, there's more. If you drag and drop an email to your task list, that too will generate for you a brand new task with the content of that email in that task. So if you're a task-oriented person, maybe more so than your calendar right now, you can drag your emails to your tasks or your calendar. And by the way, I'm not going to demonstrate this, but this is called, in the Microsoft world, called item type change. When you drag anything in Outlook to any of the other destinations, it becomes that item. So if you drag your email to a calendar, it becomes an appointment. If you drag a calendar appointment to an email, it becomes an email. So this item type change can be super helpful. And I see some of you found that to be useful and very cool, and some of you are already using it. So why don't you just take 1 minute of your time, friends, and try dragging an item from one Outlook environment to another. Thank you, Tanya. What a great tip. Yes, what a time saver. Oftentimes, what do? We copy paste, we retype. We have to keep going back and forth between our email and our appointment that we're trying to make sure we're referencing things properly. Yeah, just drag and drop, you're good to go. Thank you for practicing, everybody. Well, at Gravity Learning, practicing is great, but we like to call it rehearsing. And rehearsing something repetitively leads to building a habit. Here, let's move on. And before we do, anybody would like to comment on what you've learned new, anything that you found useful or beneficial or powerful that you'd like to relate in the chat? Right click and drag is awesome, Rob. I love that feature. Most people don't know, but you can left click and drag things. We can also right click and drag things. And there's some really cool features there. Give it a try. Thanks, Rob, for that tip. Is there a way to have the email dragged to calendar and have the attendees populated from the email? Not that I know of. I've tried that. I've had that question before. I haven't come up with an answer for you yet. I never like to say no because there's always something we can do, but I haven't found it yet. Thank you for the great question. You're all welcome. So I'd like you all to think carefully about your day. What are some things in your day that are non-negotiable? What do we mean by non-negotiable? Things that have to happen. Go to the chat real quickly and let me know what are some of those things that have to happen during your day, but they're not necessarily scheduled on your calendar. Pick up the kids from school, non-negotiable. Eating, lunch, checking email. Thank you, Becky. And all of you are hitting this nail on the head, that's for sure. Checking email is what we'd like to talk to you about next. On the average, friends, on the average, people spend 2.5 hours per day in email. Let me know in chat if you think that's something that is a little high of a number or a little low, or does it feel about spot on? 2.5 hours of email per day. Seems low? That's what I get all the time. It seems a little high for me, but some people feel it's low, or at least 2.5 hours per day. Isn't this interesting? Something that takes a quarter of our day or more is not scheduled on our calendar. No wonder these time slots that gets filled up with other activities push out our email, and we wind up working late. We wind up working through lunch. We wind up working on the weekends, answering email because we didn't get to it. Because why? We haven't scheduled time on our calendar to do our email. Yes, we want to schedule time for non-negotiables. Do you have time scheduled to pick up the kids? Absolutely. Do you have time scheduled to meet with the boss? Absolutely. Schedule time on your calendar to do your email. Sure, it's going to be interrupted. Sure, you might have to move it here and there, but schedule time on your calendar to do your email. Block out that 30 minutes. I have time at the beginning of my day for 30 minutes and time at the end of my day for 30 minutes to be concentrated in email, and I don't allow myself to be interrupted during that time. And it's so much more effective. But it's interesting to note, how do we make our time in our email more effective? If we're going to schedule time for it, we definitely want to make that time effective. First of all, you want to scan your inbox. That's step number one. Scan your inbox. Don't read each and every email. Scan your inbox looking for clues as to what you're going to do with that email, such as urgent, trash. I can follow up with this next week. I can follow up with this next month. Categorize your emails into one of 3 categories: needs attention, needs to be scheduled, or it's urgent and I need to do it right now. But you don't want to commit these categories to memory by any means. No, what you want to do is you want to set up, you're going to love this, set up categories with keyboard shortcuts to quickly categorize your email. And I'm going to demonstrate this for you. And I'm sure that you're going to find this to be one of the most useful tips that you could possibly get today. Notice up on my screen, there is a right click, which we're all familiar with, and there's a choice called categorize. You can also find that up on your toolbar. But today I'm using the right click and find categorize, and you'll notice down here there's a choice called all categories. That's where I'm going to go. What am I going to do under all categories? Let's find out. Here is where I can rename categories, because you're going to see initially blue, green, red, meaningless categories. We can rename them. We can create new categories, and we can even assign a keyboard shortcut to those more important categories. So I'm going to create 3 new categories. One is going to be needs attention. And we can pick a color and assign a keyboard shortcut, Control F2 in this case. And then I'm going to create another new category, and this one's going to be called schedule. Give it a color, and I'll assign that Control F3. And then finally, we'll do another new category, and let's call this urgent. And I'm going to assign that Control F4. And we can assign colors to them if we'd like. Now that we've got these categories built, we can simply click on an email. Of course, we can right click and choose the category by name. But we've assigned keyboard shortcuts, and I'm going to do a Control F2, excuse me. You notice the category has been assigned, needs attention. Control F2, needs attention. In fact, I can go to another folder and do Control F2, needs attention. So Tom, how do I find all these emails that I've labeled as needs attention? I've labeled 3 of them that needs attention, 2 in this folder and 1 in some other folder. You can always go up to your search bar. Have you ever noticed, friends, take a look at my screen. Do this a little slower. Have you ever noticed your ribbon change dramatically when you click inside your search bar? When I click inside a search, you'll notice my ribbon has changed to a search ribbon, and I can search for anything that's been categorized a specific way, particularly in this case, attention. And you'll see those 3 email now pop up. They need attention. Now, I've taken care of this email. I don't need it to be categorized this way anymore. I can always right click on it and, of course, clear the category. Now, that email no longer will need attention when I do a search for the category of needs attention. Isn't that slick? So we can build a categorical system that helps us keep on track with our email by labeling them and then searching for them. But I find this search utility up here, although super powerful, one of my favorite features of Outlook, my life-saving feature of Outlook, is called a search folder. Take a moment, friends, go to your scroll on the left-hand side of your email and find where it says search folder. Find where it says search folder. Right-click on search folders and choose new search folder. What is a search folder? While you find new search folder, a search folder is a search that is retained, it's remembered, so you don't have to initiate the search ever again. So if it's something you search for often, like unread mail, important mail, mail from a specific person, or in this case, categorized mail, I can even create a custom search folder that looks just for one type of category. And when we build a search folder, you'll notice that that search folder is conducting that search in real time, live, so I never have to do the search again. Go to the chat and let me know what you think of search folders. I would say it's going to be one of the most powerful tools you can use. If you have consistent searches that you do, you're going to love them. We don't have time to go through all the search folder criteria, but I'm going to encourage all of you to create a new search folder when we're done here and check out the custom search folder criteria. Virtually anything and everything you can search for in Microsoft Outlook is capable of becoming a search folder. No more searches, that's for sure. You can do it, you can let the system do it for you. All right, friends, finally, remember at the beginning of our session today, we talked about interruptions. We talked about not getting things done on time. What can we do for ourselves to eliminate or at least limit our interruptions? In Microsoft Outlook, you're probably receiving bing, bing, bing all the time, new email, new email, new email. And in Microsoft Teams, you're probably going ding, 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 ding. You're always getting these little reminders. I'd like to spend the last few minutes together with you to show you how to not only shut off these annoying notifications, but also how to turn them into something more beneficial, something more targeted to people and things that are more important to you. For instance, now, when I go over to Outlook and then slide over to the File menu, you'll notice there's a choice down here called Options. File and Options. When I go to Options and select the Mail category over here, you'll see we have Message Arrival Notifications. Play a sound, show an envelope in the taskbar, or display a desktop alert. All 3 of these can be turned on or off at any time. Now that I've turned them all off, I'm not going to get any more notifications when something new comes up. I'm going to have to go look for myself. But there is one person in my life that I really, really, really need to be notified if something comes along through my inbox. I don't want to have to be worried that I'm going to miss it. That's Mr. David Lieberman. If he sends me an email, I want to know about it. Well, on your email window, up here on your ribbon, on the Home tab, there's a category choice called Move. When you go to Move, there's a choice called Rules. Now, if your screen were expanded larger than mine, you'd see that would be expanded and you'd see Rules straight away. So if I have my notifications all turned off, but I want to be notified if I receive an email about this or from this person or in this situation with attachments or whatever characteristics we want. I can go to rules, and it's really interesting. Most of us would choose create rule. No, that one creates a rule based on what you have selected, which can be a little confusing. I'm going to recommend you go to manage rules and alerts. When you go to manage rules and alerts, there's a choice called new rule. When you click on new rule, I'm going to tell it to create a new rule when I receive my email. Clicking next, I'm going to say when I receive an email from a specific person or specific words or whatever other criteria, I'm going to say that specific person is Mr. David Lieberman. Notice what happens here. My next screen, it says, okay, if I get an email from David, what do I want to do about it? Move it to a folder, clear the categories, play a sound, or if we scroll down just a little further, there's a place right here called display a specific message in the new alert window, or just display a generic alert. I can choose display a specific message, click on the specific message and say, David has sent an email. And boom, I've created my new, hit the next button, next, and finally finish. I've created my new rule. And now I am not going to receive any notifications that might come up when I receive emails, except if it comes from Mr. David Lieberman. Very powerful. And by the way, friends, you don't have to delete that if you don't want it anymore. Go back to move rules, manage rules and alerts, and you can always just turn it off and turn it on whenever you want. So as a review, I'm going to go back to File and Options, click on Mail, and I'm going to select Play a Sound, Show an Envelope, and Display an Alert, because that's what I want for the rest of my day. But you can always turn that off whenever you like. You can silence notifications except from particular people. That is right. Silence all your notifications except from the most important people in your life, which in this case would be David. Let's go to the chat, everybody, and tell me, what did you find in our time together most important, or what did you learn? What did you like most after what we've discussed today? What do you think you can use straight away? And while you're thinking about that, oh, here they come. The email scan methodology is really helpful. Good. Blocking off time for email is so impactful. Keyboard shortcuts, always a crowd pleaser. The rules wizard. Blocking off time for email. Stick around if you'd like to have any more tips and tricks. If you have any questions, concerns, anything you'd like to just talk about, maybe just chat, or maybe even just geek out on this stuff, because I love this stuff. I've got time for you, and I'd like to offer that time to you as well. It's been a real joy having you here with me and Gravity Learning. Next month on April 14th, can you believe it's April already? On April 14th, same time, 9:30 Pacific time, Modern Assertive Communication. If you'd like to learn some amazing research and amazing tools around modern assertive communication, Mr. David Lieberman is going to be presenting that, and you're going to love it. We hope that you sign up. You're all welcome. Thank you. I'm here, like I said, to answer questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful day and start your weekend early. Thanks. Bye.